I want to bring us on to one more topic before we let you go, and that is about the school consolidation repeal vote issue that's coming up. Voters weigh in on a ballot initiative to repeal the 2007 law that's merged Maine's 290 school districts into 218 and left more than 100 out of compliance with state law. The Vote No on 3 campaign says that the state can't afford to overturn the statute. So I just want to get your comments on it and talk about, not so much about that vote, but about the concept of consolidation. Businesses are doing that all the time. How do we create efficiencies? Is consolidation a good thing? Do business rules apply to schools?
Yeah, I mean, we've shown that there are models outside the state. When this was being debated, I wrote a paper talking about some of the models in other states. New York had this great model where they had these sort of regional service centers that did a lot of back office operations for districts. They kept the districts in place, the school boards in place, but they moved a lot of back office operations to a regional level. It was a pretty nice model. It didn't get enacted here in Maine. They sort of tried a one-size-fits-all model. It's kind of blown up in their faces. One of the issues, though, you have is that, there's all this talk, well, we've got too many superintendents. That's right, but of every dollar we're spending on our schools, only 3.5% is school district administration. So you're talking about trying to find savings in a very, very small slice of the pie of overall school spending. So while we need to pursue it, I think, and there's certainly models out there for how it can be done, we're really going to have to start looking at things like how we pay teachers, about classroom sizes. I mean, those are the kind of things that's where the money is. I mean, we for instance, we pay teachers today for their years of experience in the classroom and their possession of advanced degrees. Neither one of those has been correlated to teacher quality in research. We're paying them to take classes that they don't need. We've got a whole. We really need to
merit-based pay.
Well, I mean, we've certainly got to look at it. We're not what we're not doing that businesses do is managing human capital very well. We're putting the wrong teachers in the wrong classrooms. We're just not managing it well because we have contracts that say that are based on how long you've been there, and so I think there's a lot of those aspects you can bring into the system.
I think there's a lot you could say about programming and stuff that I don't claim to be an expert on, but I will say our teacher salaries are well below the national average. And if you want to bring
so are everybody's salaries in Maine are below the national average.
Yeah, well, I have 3 children in the public school system, and I want to know that my kids are getting a good education and that you're bringing in the best and the brightest. And when you look at the salaries of teachers in Maine, I think that cutting salaries further is not necessarily the way to go. We also have made a conscious decision as parents, as citizens. We've overturned all kinds of we want to spend the money, sadly, even though state spending has grown by less than 1% outside of education every year for 10 years. Education is climbing at disproportional rates. Now, we want to protect, this is the investment in our children and our future, and we want to make sure that that's done well. But our teacher ratios are high. We have a higher than usual ratio, and maybe that needs to change. I don't know. There is some evidence that student-to-teacher ratios is something like 13 to 3 versus 15 to 3. I personally like that as a mother. Is that something that doesn't need to be? Maybe. I'm not an education expert, so I don't know that.
Right.
But certainly not teacher salaries. I think that you'd be hard-pressed to find excess there.
So there's where we get into the issue, is everybody trying to figure out what do we want to cut and what's important.
Right.
John's got the answer.
No, but mergers and consolidations in the corporate world often do not produce the savings that are expected, nor the performance at the end.
Mergers with the corporate world usually have to do with the quarterly bottom line issue, and they've got to cut something to
but here's the problem, though. What we're faced right now is you're merging districts where the salary structures are entirely different. And so you now have communities facing large increases in their property taxes or something to support that differential salary structure. Because as you might guess, those folks who are making the lower salary, which you all agree are lower, they want to move up to the higher salary where they've been merged. That's one thing. The second thing is we're going to save superintendent jobs. I think we're going to see that. But what I'm interested in is what's going to happen to the middle level jobs, directors of literacy, directors of reading, because we're going to geographically disperse our students. So we're going to have students traveling longer. As a mom with young kids, I don't think you want your child traveling 45 minutes on a bus in 3rd grade or 1st grade. I don't think that. So there's going to be extra cost there. I don't think we've looked really clearly at here are the savings we can identify, good job for you guys, but here are the other additional costs that seem reasonable. We haven't done that yet.
Right.
I don't know what we're going to save out of this.
And see, that's the business model approach. Not only if you're looking at cutting things, you also have to look at reasonable investments that's going to have a positive effect on the bottom line.
I don't think I disagree with either of these gentlemen, but I do think that, when it comes down to it, I don't understand what you're going to do with the 50% of schools that are already in compliance. Yeah. What is the legal foundation for them now that they've already moved into this system, and what do you do with them?
Well, the legislature can take care of that.
But remember, there were supposed to be, I'll use the bad term here, penalties that were supposed to accrue if you weren't, and now they've backed off of that for a year. So now let's say you two are a district that are in compliance. It's almost like, you fools, you're in compliance and you're not getting any benefit out of this.
Unless they do get some benefit.
Yeah.
I think the 13 school systems, and maybe you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but the 13 school systems around the Mexico area have saved now something like $600,000. So, it's not as if there is no savings.
Yeah, the worst part is there was a better way to do this. I mean, we could have taken a better approach. We could have used incentives to encourage these districts. These districts see the writing on the wall just like the rest of us do. We've got declining enrollment. We've got numbers going through the floor. We can't sustain these costs that are rising. And the districts have been working together. And you had a lot of them go to the governor and go to the legislature and say, look, we're already working with these districts. We cut these costs. Don't make us jump through all of these hoops that you've constructed artificially for us. But the state went ahead and did it anyway. And now you've got districts looking for other ways out. I mean, you've got districts wanting to become charter schools, which is something we don't have in Maine, but we should have.
That's another show.
I mean, so you've really got districts that have been, that are really in hard shape because they were on the right path and then had to divert and do it the way the state wanted it done.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. I'm going to have to stop there, but clearly this is something. What interests me in this and wanting to have that topic back onto the show is not so much the school topic, but the topic of how do we incent change at the community level, in our governments, at the state government, the local government level. Without that, part of what the problem with this is it was top down. There are a lot of communities that balk just because of that. But we clearly have to get our business, our fiscal act together.
But Nicole offered an example. Mexico, they saved $600,000. What are they getting back from that as part of the reward for doing that? Where is the reward for making those painful decisions and savings?
And we've got to incentivize outcomes, performance. I mean, all that we talk about is input. What is our per pupil spending? What are our class sizes? What are our outputs? What are we getting out of this system? And let's tie some of that to that.
Not just this system, but then at government, local government levels, how do we do that? How do we incent that?
We did just pass some legislation to do some benchmarking from kindergarten or preschool even upwards to figure out some of that.
Okay, stop right there. I appreciate that. And we will sit down and have some more discussion about it. We're going to close it here and put this all on the web so everybody can see it. Thank you all. And thank you.